And the chair now recognizes the gentleman, the vice chairman of the subcommittee from Illinois, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank you all for being here today. Mr. Anderberg, should the government mandate wages that you pay?
No, no.
Give me, if you can, like generally, what's kind of the average, if you kind of put all your employees together, what's kind of an average hourly wage?
I'd say the average hourly wage is up into the mid-20s.
And has that, you said that's
Not
increased?
including benefits, not including benefits.
And you said that's increased over the last few years?
It's increasing, yes.
And that's because of?
Scarcity.
What would have happened if, say, 3 years ago, Washington would have mandated the wage you're paying now back when the economy was hurting?
Well, I'll tell you, Congressman, as a small manufacturer, we made the decision in the 4-year slump we had between 13 and 17 to hold on to our people. We hadn't built enough cash reserves up that we held on to them, gave them 40-hour weeks. If that would have come, and we made it out, we ate up all our cash reserves in those years. If we would have come out of that or had that come down, I would have laid off more people. You can't do that.
Yeah, can you think of a?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
Well, in Germany, like we talked about Germany, I've been in German machine tool plants. I've been in German manufacturing companies, and I don't want any mandates from the government. I mean, one thing the Germans have done is they've mandated that if you're a manufacturing company, you have to have 10% of your workforce in an apprenticeship program. I mean, that's pretty good, but I think it's incumbent upon the manufacturer to make that decision, not government.
Yeah, and I think there's some things to learn from the German system. I like, in fact, they introduce kids in high school, put them on different tracks, career tracks, paths, opportunities, show them options, and I think that's something, frankly, we can learn from. But Germany has actually been criticized significantly in the EU for what they call keeping wages low. And so I think to kind of look at the German system and say that's the answer, I don't think is, even though, again, there's some things we can learn from them. They very obviously technologically advanced and everything else. But I do think it's important that, since the enactment of the tax cut and the repealing of a lot of the regulations that you talked about that have been stifling, 1.7 million jobs have been created. Wages are up 2.7%. More than $4 billion has been paid to employees in terms of bonuses. Just 2 short years ago, 3/4 of manufacturers were saying that the biggest business challenges were our tax and regulatory environment. But as of June this year, less than 20% say that that's a top concern. I mean, you look at it, and we get in, and we should have these good arguments in D.C. That's the point of this place. But if you look at it and you say, who are we asking? When you ask the people that are actually making the jobs, that are manufacturing, what is it you need, what is it you've seen? And they're telling us, I think by and large, that we're creating a better environment. And you look at the economic numbers, it becomes pretty obvious that it's working. Unemployment's at an 18-year low. It's not perfect. We still have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of issues with training. You said you employ about 60 people, 45 of whom are skilled tradesmen, machinists, and assemblers, but you have a need for another 10 or 15, you can't fill it. You also mentioned that this is a pervasive problem, not only in the manufacturing sector, but everywhere. Can you give us a couple examples of other industries? And also, do you attribute the shortfalls to the same factors that have led in the shortfalls in manufacturing?
Yeah, I can talk about the construction industry. I know people who are building contractors, excavators, they can't, their people are retiring too in the next couple of years. I talked to one owner, Northern Illinois Service in Rockford, can't get anybody. He's really concerned about his business. There are other service industries. Everybody you talk to is having a problem getting people, specifically young people. And this is something I want to speak to. I touch on it a little bit in my write-up. This is a societal issue we're facing. We just can't seem to get young people into the trades. And what I've also found, it's a global issue. Just recently, we had a nurse serviceman over from Germany work on one of our machines. We've got to know these people really well. And we had another gentleman in earlier this year, and we get into this conversation, and they say, these guys fly all over the world. They are in plants in Russia, China, India, everywhere. And they've told me, both of them, that you go to a plant in China, India, they tell us the same thing. They can't get young people into this trade, into this type of work. You walk into the plants, they're all older people. So it's a unique situation, it's a unique challenge. I don't know if it's because manufacturing is not seen as a technological industry. It is. And maybe it's a more of a marketing effort towards, like I said, the students, the parents, the educators. There are, if an IMTS show last week, there was a display where they show voice-activated commands for making machine tools move. It's fascinating. And my father and I were there, and we happened to see a lot of students there that day, and they had like lounge couches there you could sit and watch. It was the only booth that I saw where students sat and were extremely attentive to watching the demonstration. Maybe that's part of the answer. Maybe it's increasing the technology, making it more work like an app on your iPhone or your iPad. I think that has something to do with it. But I don't know. It's strange. I think everybody's experiencing the same thing. You can't get young people in. They last maybe a day, and they don't come back.
Well, thank you, and I have 1,000 more questions, but I'll just leave it by saying I think this is an area where, frankly, there can be a lot of bipartisan cooperation, which is, we have these deep debates, but ultimately, how can the government restructure our programs that exist, not new programs, but restructure them to make sure we're turning people onto these opportunities. So thank you again for being here, all four of you, and I'll yield back.